You can find all sorts of ticket systems all over YouTube and online, but do you want a ticket system that's a little bit more advanced? Do you want one that incorporates a drop-down, button, sent information, and even a modal based on the ticket type that you have? It'll ask specific questions. Well, that's what I'm going to show you how to do today. I think this is the most advanced ticket system out there, and yeah, I'm going to take you through a quick tutorial on how to make this. Just a little note, this is kind of a more advanced tutorial, so you do need to have a basic understanding. I expect you guys to understand, buttons, slash commands, modals, and really all the different interaction types, because we're going to be utilizing all of that today. So yeah, without further ado, let's jump right in. The first thing that I like to go over is the setup for this video. So you'll need to create your different categories for your ticket type. So for example, when we open a general support ticket, it's going to be placed under this category. So to create a new category, just press create category, place your name right here, click private category, click next. You can select what roles you want to view it. By default, if you have like a staff team role, you probably should place that here. Otherwise, just press skip, and then now you'll have that category. Now it's very important that whatever you name this category, the case sensitive, the spaces, the spelling, everything's exactly the same as those options in your select menu for your ticket selection. And I'll show you that later, but very important just to remember these categories. That's how we're actually going to fetch the categories and place the tickets in a certain situation or a certain area. Sorry. Yeah, that's the setup on the Discord side. Once you have that set up, if we head over to Visual Studio Code, I'm going to quickly talk about that. I'm going to have a lot of this already made, and the reason for that, so this main.py file, I've already covered all of this in my previous videos. So if you're unfamiliar with any of this that you see on the screen in front of you, I recommend going and watching some of my older videos, as all of this is already been covered, and I don't want to spend too much time dwelling on things that I've already covered. So we're going to start with this, and then also I'm going to start with this cogs.tickets file, and this is where we're going to be working on everything. And I've kind of set up a little bit of a base of what we're going to be working on. So as you can see, I've created a couple classes. The first class is the tickets class, which is just the cogs class. And then this has one command inside it. It's to send tickets, and this will just send the message. So that little message that you're going to leave in your channel for people to click on to open a ticket, that's going to be invoked through this command /send tickets. And then we have the dropdown class, which this class is the view class that'll be attached to this message that is sent. As you can see, we're sending this message with the embed with the ticket prompt, and then the view is equal to dropdown. And so right now I've kind of just gone ahead and set up kind of like the outline of what we're going to be doing with this class. So I have the select menu already created with the 3 options, and as you can see, this is what I was talking about. The names of the categories are exactly the same as these labels in the select option, which is very, very important. Unless you want to sort it a different way, but in the case of this video, this is how we're going to be actually getting the category. So if I press on general support, we're going to fetch the category with that name and place it under there. So yeah, I have these select options already made. I have the full select menu made, and then the callback function right now just defers, so nothing would happen. And then I also have this create ticket function, which basically we're going to call this create ticket function as soon as we press it, and then this is where we're going to be handling everything. You can see under each part, I've kind of put some comments on what's going to happen inside of each little bit. So I've said everything that we need to do when we quote unquote create the ticket, or when we call this function. I've listed it out, and we'll kind of take it step by step through there. Then moving down, we have the EnterInfo class, and this is just the class which has a button attached to it, and this will be the view of the message that is sent inside of the ticket initially once you create it. And this will be the button that when you press it, a pop-up pops up, which is the pop-up below. But the pop-up comes up on your screen, and that's how you can enter information. There's going to be some specific things that we'll have to do for this, and kind of some nuances of fetching the ticket type and getting some stuff like that, but we'll deal with that in a second. And then the pop-up obviously is the pop-up that asks you the certain questions. I've just put a self.add item for just so I can copy that around, but this currently doesn't have anything in it. And we'll kind of manipulate what questions we have here for the users to answer. And then we have the on submit, and I've placed some comments on what should happen there. So these 2 files will be in the GitHub repository. So if you guys want to download these files and kind of follow along, you're more than welcome to. But like I said, the reason why I'm not going over any of this is this has all been covered in previous videos, and I don't want to spend too much time going over some of that stuff that you should already know. And if you don't, I recommend watching those videos. So let's go ahead and run our bot just so we can see where we're starting, what this command sends us, and so we can kind of map out where we need to go from here. So let's head over to Discord and run /send tickets, and you can see we have our message here. and it has the dropdown class attached to it, and we have our 3 categories here. So that's awesome. So the very first thing that we need to do is handle what happens when we press this, because right now it's just going to defer the response, but we need to work on creating the ticket. So that is the very first step, and let's get into that. So heading back over to VS Code, we are in our tickets cog file, and let's start working. So the first thing that we need to do is handle this callback, which is the async def select menu, and right now we're just deferring. So we have to do 2 things in here. We have to call the function create ticket, which has a lot of things inside of it, and we need to reset the view. The reason why we're resetting the view is, well, let's quickly go back to Discord for a second. So when we pressed on an item, oh, oops, I did not start the bot. Give me 1 second. Okay, so when we pressed on an item, as you can see, like, let's say I want to click general support. As you can see, obviously we don't have a function to create a ticket yet, but general support stays right here. Even though we've clicked out of it and nothing's happening anymore, general support stays right here. So what happens if I want to open 2 general support tickets back to back? So I open a general support ticket, it gets closed, and I want to open another one, let's say a day later. Well, if I come back here and I try to click it, you can see it's already selected and nothing's going to happen. So in order to open another general support, I have to click bug support, and then I have to like, I have to open like multiple tickets to get around it. So what we want to do is, when we open a ticket, we want this view to be reset back to its original state, and that original state is the one that has the placeholder that says select a ticket category. So when I press general support, it's reset back to this. And I've kind of overcomplicated this, or made this sound harder than it is, but basically all we need to do is go over to the callback, and we're just going to say await interaction.message.edit, and then we're just going to say view is equal to the name of the class, which is dropdown, and this will reset it back to its back to a new object of the class dropdown, and so this will work. And we can test this later, but let's keep going. So obviously the second thing that we need to do is call the create ticket function, and you can have all this functionality just placed right below here, but I like to have it in a separate function, completely optional. It's just my preference. So we'll go ahead and say await self.create_tickets, if I can spell it right. And then right now we don't have any parameters, but we will need some parameters, and we'll talk about that in a second. Okay, so now we're calling this function up here. So let's go ahead and deal with that. So up here, we need to do a lot of different things. First, we need to get the ticket description. So what I mean by this is, when you open a ticket, there is requirements that I have placed in each ticket type. So for example, when I open a general support ticket, I want there to be a specific message in that embed in the ticket, but I want that message, that string, to be different from the message for a staff application. When there's a staff application, I want that there to be a message in the embed that says, hey, these are the requirements to be a staff, or like, this is what you need to include. I want there to be a specific message in the embed. And so we're going to use some mapping to grab the description based on the value that they selected in the dropdown. So first, let's start with that. So if you don't know how a mapping works, basically we're going to have a dictionary of key value pairs where the key is the category or what they selected, and the value is the description that we want to grab. And then we're going to use the method .get to grab it. So first, let's create that map. We're going to say, we'll call this ticket_descriptions to represent a dictionary. And like I said, the key values will be the categories. So general support. And then when I open a general support ticket, I want there to be a message that says you can, put whatever you want here, but let's just say, what can I put? Our staff team will be with you shortly. And then when there is a bug support ticket opened, I want there to be, please, whoops, didn't mean to do that. Please do not abuse this bug. And you can see you can put whatever you want, and you can even do like multiple lines. And I'll show that in a second. For the staff application, we're going to put requirements, and then we'll do /n to go to the next line. That's the escape character. And then we'll place requirement number 1, and we just put rec1 /n2 rec2, and you can put whatever you want. I'm just putting random values here, but you can place whatever you want here. And then now we need to grab that description based on, whatever the key is or the selection that they made on the dropdown. So what we're going to say is we'll call this just selected description is equal to ticket descriptions .get, and you can see get takes in a key and then a default, but I don't think default is required, but we'll specify one anyway. So we can say .get, and we want to get it based on what have they selected, but how do we know what they selected in this function or this method? We'll need to pass it in. So if we go back down here, create ticket, we're going to pass in select.values, which returns a list of the values that the user selected, and then 0, because they can only ever select one value on the dropdown, so we know it'll always be at the 0th index. So now, whoops, minimizing that. Now we can take in we call it selection, and this will be a string, and then we can do .get based off of the selection, and then we can put a default value. But yeah, so this will get, so when I click general support, the select.value will be passed into this function as selection, and then we're going to run ticket descriptions.get whatever the selection was. So if I press general support will be placed right here, and when I run .get, it'll be like, okay, where in this dictionary is there general support? Right here. Okay, what is the value associated with it? It is this. So this selected description will now hold this string right here. And this will work for anything that you put right here. And if for some reason you haven't set it up correctly and something doesn't match, it'll just be equal to an empty string like this. Okay, so now we've gotten the ticket description. Oh, whoops, I was supposed to do that below it, just so I can keep kind of track of where I'm going. Now the next thing to do is create the overrides. So when you create a ticket channel, we need to create the overrides for the channel or the permissions. That's probably what you're more familiar with it being talked about as. So how overrides work is you'll be creating another dictionary, which has key value pairs, but the key for the dictionary in this case will be whatever you want to set the permissions for. So this could either be a role or a member. So you could specify, obviously when someone opens a ticket, we want them to be able to view the channel. And then we want, for example, we want the role of, if you have a staff role or a support role in your channel or in your Discord, sorry, then you want them to be able to view it and send messages, etc. And so we can create this right here, and you can make this however you want for your server, but I'll create just a default one, and this will hold 3 different values, and we'll talk about what that third one is in a second. So let's create this by saying channel overwrites is equal to a dictionary, and like I said, the key is equal to either the role or the member that you're assigning it for. So for the first one, we'll say interaction.user, and you can see we don't have interaction access because we're inside of a method, and so we need to pass in interaction as well. So we'll just take interaction as discord.interaction, and then back down here in the callback from the dropdown, we'll pass in interaction, just so we can use some methods from interaction class. Oopsies, I keep doing that. Okay, so now we can assign the interaction.user, which just represents the user that pressed the select menu. We can assign them to a discord.permission overrides, and this will represent all the permissions that we want to assign to him. So I didn't mention this, but when the ticket is created, I'm admin, so I kind of bypass it, but something that I like to implement is when they initially open the ticket, they cannot send messages, but they can view it. So they can view the ticket, they can press the button in order to enter their information, but they're only granted permissions to send messages once they have entered their information, which I think helps a lot with just organization and people actually following a format. That's why I like the system a lot. So when a user initially opens a ticket, we're going to say discord.permission overwrite, and we'll say view_channel is equal to true, but we'll say send_messages is equal to false. And now we can do this for whatever else we want. Let's just say you have a staff role, so we can grab that staff role, staff team or support role, whatever it is, and we could use discord.utils.get to get the role. Not the greatest practice, but it's okay for this situation. Name is equal to staff team. I believe I have a role made for this called staff team. If not, we get an error and we'll see. And now we can just reference it by doing staff team, the variable created, is equal to a discord.permission override. And we want the staff team to be able to view and send messages. Let's go ahead and do that. Okay, and now the third one that I want to talk about. So depending on how your permissions are set up for your Discord and how you have it set up for the category, you may or may not need this, but I recommend everyone doing this. And the last thing I want to assign is the interaction.guild.default_role. And so this represents see right here, the @everyone role that all members have by default. So obviously you don't want just anyone or people with no roles or the @everyone role to be able to view this channel. So we're hiding this or essentially making it private. So we're going to say view underscore channel equal to false. And also if you have like a muted role or something, you can add this here and say muted people can't send messages, stuff like that. You know, you guys can figure out how to make this for yourself. If you have any questions, let me know. But yeah, that's gonna be the basics of our channel overrides. And now we're gonna actually do the fun part of making the channel. So we have the overrides, we have the description, and then we'll assign a name as well. So we're gonna say await interaction.guild.create underscore text channel. And then you can see what it takes in. So we're going to pass in a name. You can pass in a reason, but the reason is only passed to the audit log. So I don't think there's any real reason to do that, but you can if you want to. And then the category, we want to specify what category it's going to. And then one more, I'm trying to find an overwrite right here, which is a mapping of role to member to permission, or role of or member to permission overwrite, which is just what we created up here. So we're going to say name is equal to, you can name this whatever you want, but this is how I'm going to name it. I'm going to say interaction.user.name dash, and then their ticket number. Right now, we don't have a specific ticket number. Ideally, you'd want to have a ticket number that increases with each ticket that's created. You can do this in a lot of different ways. You can store it in a JSON file and just take that number in the JSON file and then up it by 1, and then obviously update it in the file, or you can use a database. If the series does good, I'll be planning on making a database video, so I will be doing that in the future. But for now, I'll just say number is equal to 0001, representing the first ticket. And then we'll say number. And then we're going to pass in the overwrites is equal to channel overwrites. We've created that. And then the category is going to be equal to, well, we need to create an object for the category, and that's going to be the same thing that we used above, discord.utils.get and interaction.guild. I'm trying to remember, is it channels or text channels? I think just channels. And then we're going to say name is equal to, and this will be the selection. So this will grab it based off of whatever we selected down here. It'll grab the name, exact case, exact spelling, exact spaces, stuff like that. It'll match it and grab that category if the name exists. If not, it'll return none. And this is why it's important to have it matching. Okay, so now we'll say category is equal to category. Okay, so this should create a text channel, or the ticket, sorry. And then let's keep moving on. So the next thing that we want to do is send or delete the tag, or send and delete the tag. And so the reason why I do this, if you have a staff team role, then I recommend doing this. And in our Discord server this is originally for, we have a staff team role, and every time a ticket is opened, we want that staff team role to be mentioned. So if this is something that you're interested in, then you can follow this. If not, you can skip ahead. But I'm going to go ahead and try to do this. Pretty easy. We're just going to say await. Well, we don't have channel yet. So this function or this method create text channel returns the channel that it creates. So we can just grab that by doing channel is equal to, and now we can access stuff for that channel, how to send messages in and stuff like that. So now we can say await channel.send, and we're just going to send staff team.mention. And then now we want to delete it right after, because I want to send it and delete it, so it kind of like ghost pings them. So we're going to, once again, when you send something, it returns the message. So we're going to say tag is equal to, and then you could just say await tag.delete, because tag in this case is a message, so we can run .delete on it. Okay, and now the next thing is we want to respond to the user in the channel that they clicked on, that like ticket prompt message. We want to respond to them like, hey, you created a ticket, and like this is the link to your ticket, click on it to go to it. So pretty simple. What we're going to do is just say await interaction.response.send_message, content is equal to successfully created your ticket, and then we want to mention the ticket so they can just press on it and get redirected to it. So we're going to put right here channel.mention, and we're going to send this as an ephemeral, and then of course we're going to make this an f string, so that's placed in there. Perfect. So this should work now. And then the last thing that we need to do in this function is send that ticket message in the ticket. So we still have this description that has been grabbed, but we're not accessing it, we haven't used it yet. So let's send that embed in the ticket. So we need to create a new embed. Embed is equal to discord.embed. Title is, actually we won't do a title, we'll just do the description. So description is equal to, and you can format your ticket messages however you want, but how I'm going to do it is, or this is how I usually do it, is it'll be hey interaction.user.mention, and then /n/n you have created a new ticket /n, and then put the type on the next line. So this will be selection, and then the rest of the description can go after it. And so we'll just do, I'm trying to think. So then we could do /n, and then right here place the description that we grabbed above. Okay, this kind of goes off the screen, so let me just kind of format this string so it's a little bit better. We can kind of see everything at once. Not the best formatting practice, but I just want everything to be viewable in one line. Okay, so sorry, I was blinking on how to use strings for a second. Okay, so now we have the description set. So this is how it'll be formatted. It'll say, hey, interaction not user dimension. It'll skip 2 lines with these /ns. Then it'll say, you have created a new ticket. Then it'll say the type and then the selection. So whatever, let's put a space there. So whatever we selected, for example, general support. And then it'll have the selected description. So this will have, for example, if we click general support, it'll say our staff team will be with you shortly. So yeah, and you can put whatever you want. If you want all the tickets to have a certain message, like, you know, our staff team response is generally 24 hours or whatever, you can place that here as well. This is /n our staff team. You know, you can put whatever, and this will be there for all tickets. You know, format this however you want is my point. Okay, moving on, you just put a color, discord.color.grapple is what I've been using. I don't really know if that's how you say it, but it's okay. Color, I'm trying to think what else. Put a timestamp. I'm trying to make this maybe look a little bit better. Daytime UTC now. Let's go ahead and import datetime so we can use that. Imports datetime, and I don't think it's going to be the correct time zone, but it's okay. It's all right. Just want to make it look good. Okay, so this is the embed. I think that's everything for the embed. And now we can just say await channel.send embed equals embed, and then the view is equal to we want this to have the EnterInfo. Okay, I think that is it for this function, or this method. Sorry, I keep changing those, but I think that's it. Yeah, let's go ahead and save this and test it. I'm sure there's going to be errors. There's always errors when running your code, but let's go ahead and see what we got. So heading over to Discord, if I run send messages, or send tickets, sorry, we should see, so the first thing is I want you to notice that this will get reset once we select an option, if we did it correctly, and then hopefully we'll get our ticket created under the correct category. Let's see. So there you go, you can see it was removed, or it was set back to the original select ticket category. We did get, okay, so I'm thinking about one error that we already have. Okay, so we did get our ticket here, and we did not get the embed sent in here. We did not get the response of we've created our ticket, and I know why that is. It's because we tried to respond. We tried to send an interaction not response twice, so we need to fix that. And if we go back to console, you can see this interaction's already been responded to before, and so that gave me an error. So let's go ahead and fix that. In order to actually respond after we deferred it, what we'll have to do is, let me find the message, interaction.followup.send, and now we can send that. And then obviously this threw an error here, which means all the code below it did not run, so we weren't able to see if that worked as well. So let's see if fixing that fixed the errors, and it actually works fully now. So reload tickets, send tickets. Let's try on something else, bug support. CBR ticket, there we go. We get our message, successfully created your ticket. It mentions a ticket. If you click on it, boom. We have hey at Sanamo. You created a new ticket. It says the type right here, which is the selection that we put. And then you can see this message is specific to bug reports. So you can place whatever you want right here. Please do not abuse this bug because this is a bug support ticket. And we have the button attached as well. Also, if we go ahead and double check our permissions or overwrites, you can see at Sanamo, I'm the one that clicked the button to open a ticket, so we can view the channel, but we cannot send messages. The staff team can view it and send messages, and then everyone just can't view it. So this is good. This is looking, perfect, like what we wanted. Let's go ahead and just delete these channels. So now we want to work on actually making that enter information button work. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, back in VS Code, and I have minimized the dropdown class because we won't be needing it for a while, and we just have the EnterInfo class. So As you can see, all we need to do in here is send the modal or the pop-up. Very, very simple. If you don't know how to do so, just await interaction.response.send modal, and we're going to send pop-up just like that. Remove this pass. And there you go. That's all we need to do in the EnterInfo, at least for now. And we can go ahead and minimize this and open up pop-up. So pop-up, we have to do a few things. So first, let's create the pop-up, because right now this is very, very blank and it's not going to have the specific questions that we want. So by the way, I don't know if I explained this, but every time that you click on like the enter information button, we want those questions that pop up to be specific to the ticket category. So if I open a staff application ticket, I want those questions to be, you know, what's your experience? Why would you make a good staff? Versus if I open a bug support, I want to say, you know, put a video of the bug, what is the bug, explain it fully, stuff like that. So I want those questions to be actually specific to what I selected. And we'll talk about how to do that. Yeah, right now actually. So yeah, obviously that's a problem. So in the pop-up, we have no idea what the selection was. Yeah, we can send this modal, but there's no value in this class. There's no attribute, there's no function, there's nothing that we can get what they selected in the dropdown. So how are we going to pass that over to the modal? Well, as you can kind of see by my order of the classes, we've kind of passed on, like we started this class tickets, then we went to the dropdown class. Like if I'm a user, this is kind of like a snake following through each class. So I'm going to the dropdown, then I went to the EnterInfo, and now I'm at the pop-up. We need to pass the value of, well, it's select.values of 0, or the selection value of dropdown. We need to pass it through each of these classes. And the way we do that is just by through the init, we pass it as a parameter. So if I open up all these classes, if I go back to the initial call to, was it at dropdown where sorry. If I go back to create a ticket and we send EnterInfo, we want to pass that selection value into EnterInfo, and we'll just make sure this is sent as a string. I believe it will, but I just want to ensure that it is. And then now if I go to EnterInfo, I need to accept the ticket type. So we're going to say ticket underscore type is a string, and we're going to say self.ticket underscore type is equal to ticket type. So now we can actually access ticket type inside of here. And then we're kind of just going to snake this along to the modal as well. So we're going to take self.ticket type and we're going to pass it into this class as well. Do the same exact thing here. Ticket underscore type string. You may want to name it differently just so you don't have the same thing, but I'm not going to worry about that for now. Self ticket type is equal to ticket type. And boom, now we have access to whatever they selected way up here, all the way down in this modal. That's just kind of what I want to show. I can go ahead and minimize these classes now. I don't think we'll be needing them at all for the rest of the video. We're just going to be dealing in just this pop-up for now. Okay, so that being said, in order to add questions or little, I guess input fields into the modal, we're going to be using this function here, self.addItem, and we're adding a UI.text input with a label, placeholder, and a style. And also you can specify a max value, I think a min value, but we're just going to be using these three. So how are we going to add it based on what ticket type is equal to? Well, you can use mapping for this as well, the same method that we used to get the ticket description, but I think just for simplicity, we're just going to use simple if statements. So we're going to say if self.ticket type is equal to general support, or whatever your ticket category is called, then we're going to add, let's say 2 questions that are specific to general support. Excuse me. Elif self.ticket type is equal to, what's the other one's, bug support. Then we might add just one specific question. Elif self.ticket type is equal to staff application. Then we might add one specific question. And also, if you want to add questions that are will apply to all of them. So for example, I want to add a question that'll like no matter what ticket category you have, I want there to be a question of what is your name. I think it's pretty standard. So we're going to place that right up here, not inside of any if statements. And we're just going to say, what is your name? Placeholder, my name is ... and then it's style of short. And you can change these to long, so it's a paragraph form. For example, I'll probably change a couple of these, change placeholders, stuff like that. So I'm going to go ahead and fill these out. This is going to be completely random and like not actual values, but you can fill this out for your specific needs and cases. So yeah, go ahead and do that real quick. Okay, so I've gone through and filled out some of these things, like what is your issue for general support? My issue is, and I made this a long style. When did you first have the issue? You know, just some random questions. You can put whatever you want, like I said. And then one thing that I noticed, I also want to go ahead and change the title to be whatever the ticket type that you selected. So you can also make title whatever you want, but I'm going to make this equal to self.ticket type. So if I open the general support, it's going to say general support right at the top, which would be nice. Okay, so this should be working now. Let's go ahead and test it out just to make sure it works before we move on. So let's go over to Discord and let's go reload tickets. I believe the bot is still up. It is not. Let's get that up and running. Make sure we have no errors in the console. Everything looks good. Perfect. Now we can do send tickets. Let's open a general support. Click on the message, and now when I press enter information, boom, there you go. You can see general support at the top. What is your name? What is your issue? And you can see these are the questions specifically designed for general support. You know, I put these questions to be specifically for this. And I can show that by going to staff application, and you can see we'll now only have 2 questions, and one will be what is your name, because that's standard for all the tickets, and then what are your past experiences was the one specific for staff application. So awesome, this is working. But obviously right now, if I enter something and press submit, nothing happens. And in fact, I can keep doing this, but we need to do a few things once we submit this Modal. So let's work on that. And this is actually the final thing. We're almost there. So the last thing that we need to do is handle what will happen once we submit our information for the ticket. And that is these 3 things right here. The first thing is placing the information in the embed. And as you kind of saw in the example, between the type of the ticket and the specific information for the ticket, I kind of like divided them and shifted them apart, and then I placed the information that I inputted in there. So I just took them, I spread them apart, placed it in there, and like obviously edited the message back with that information. So I placed it right in the middle. And that's what we're going to be doing first. This does take kind of some knowledge with like string splitting, stuff like that. It's nothing too difficult, but if you haven't dealt with like string manipulation, it might be a little difficult. And the second thing is removing the button. This is very, very easy, 1 line of code. But yeah, super easy. All we're doing is setting the view to none, which I guess we can go ahead and do since it is so simple. You just have to do await interaction dot message dot edit view is equal to none. And so when you submit your information, it'll set the view equal to none, which means there's no more button on the embed. Okay, awesome. Now we only have 2 more things to do. And the last thing to do is to edit the channel permissions. So kind of similar to how we initialized Overwrites, we'll kind of do something similar, use some different methods and functions to grab the permissions for the certain user. And the user in this case is the one who submits the button, or submits the Modal, sorry. And then we're going to allow them, we're going to edit their permissions, we're going to allow them to send messages and then assign it back to that channel. So allow them to send messages once they submit it. But let's go ahead and get into, I guess, probably the more complex one, which is placing the information inside of the embed. So first we need to grab the description of the embed. You know, what's the string? So we're going to say embed description. Actually, let's just grab the embed first because we'll need this later on. Embed is equal to interaction.message.embeds, which by the way just returns a list of embeds attached to the message. And then we're going to grab the 0th index, which will be the 1 embed, because we know there's only ever 1 embed on these ticket messages. And then we can grab the description by saying description is equal to embed.description. And now this is going to be the string that is the description of the embed. And now we can manipulate a little bit. So let me kind of explain how we're going to do this. So by default, the description looks something like this. Let me get some comments out so I can kind of work right here. So the description is, hey, interaction.user.mention, and then it skips a line. You have created a new ticket, the type, and then down here, it skips 2 more lines, and it says the specific description for the ticket, and then that's it. So I guess we could remove some of these. So right here, you can see that it's all split up by these line breaks. And so what we want to do is place our information that we submitted right here. Right here is where we want to enter information. So how are we going to take this string, split it, hint, hint, and then place our new string right here, but then keep everything else? So how we're going to do this is every time there's a line break right here, this technically represents a value of /n/n. This represents a double line break. And then if we split the whole string on that, we'll get this being one value of the list, this being another value of the list, this being another value of the list. And then we can access between these two values of the list. We can insert into that list, and then we can reassign that as a string, or use the join method for the string to take all the elements in the list and reassign it back to the embed, or back to the embed description. Hopefully that makes sense. It'll probably make sense as I start writing code. So let's just leave this down here for now so we can kind of reference it. So the first thing we want to do is say we'll say split description, probably more fitting, is equal to description dot split on /n/n. This will take 2 line breaks, which occur here and here. And I think actually, now I'm thinking about it, when I created this, yeah, I did /n space /n. So I think it might be necessary for us to do /n space /n, or else it won't catch that. I'm not sure how that'll work, but we may or may not need space here just because of how we formatted up here. Anyways, besides that, so now split description holds a list of each of these items. Like I said, this is an item, this is one, and this is one. So we have 1, 2, 3 elements, or the 0 index, 1 index, and 2 index. Now we're going to say split underscore description dot insert. And so what insert does is it inserts at a certain index, it inserts the object, or it can be a string or whatever. Excuse me. So we're going to insert it at index 0, 1, 2, because description is the current value, or has the current index of 2, but we want to insert it at 2 and kind of push that onward. So insert at 2, and what are we going to be inputting here? Well, this needs to be a string of each item, label, and value that we inputted. So in order to get that, we're going to call this, we're going to create a little for loop to grab that string. So we're going to say, what can we call this? Inserted string. Wait, that's not inserted string. Did I spell it? I'm just going to call it string. I'm having trouble. String is equal to this, and we're going to say for item in self dot, I believe it's children. Yeah, this returns a list of each item. So for item in self dot children, we can do string plus equal to and we can format this how we want. So I want this to be item dot label, which will be the question. So like inside of the inside of any ticket, what the first question is going to be, what is your name? So this will represent that actual question, and then we'll bold that, and we'll do /n, and then place item dot value, which represents the value that the user inputted, and then we'll do /n/n just so there's a line break between each question. So there we go. So now string will actually hold a formatted way of the question to answer, and now we can insert at index 2 string. So this should work. I haven't tested this out, but this should insert that. And now we need to assign that string, or assign that description back to the embed. So we're going to say await interaction.message.edit, and we're going to say embed is equal to embed, but before that we need to change the original embed description. So embed.description is equal to not split description, because split description is a list. What we want to do is say /n/n dot join split description. So what this does is it takes the string of /n and it joins it with each element in split description. So it takes each element and splits them by /n/n, which is the exact opposite of what we did up here. We split it up here, now we're joining it by that. So we're just combining it back together into its original form. But yeah, this should work. I'm not entirely sure, but we can see, and actually now I'm noticing we can kind of combine this. So instead of running interaction message to edit twice, we can edit the view and embed in one call. So we can just say embed is equal to embed, and just to save redundancy. Okay, let's see if this works. Yeah, let's go ahead and see if this works. So we can do /send tickets, and we can open a bug support. Perfect. Enter information, Sanimo, debug. Let's see if it works. Okay, so we do have the message removed, but I do notice that we have a lot of space here at the bottom. So you can see it was inserted right here. And oh, I can actually think of why it's doing that. Okay. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So the reason why is because we added an extra /n after the item, and it was joined by a /n. So now we have, I guess, 4 /n's right here. You know, 1 after this, then 3 below it. So let's go ahead and fix that. Really simple, but you get the idea here. This is pretty much complete. We just have to fix the format issue. So what we'll have to do is, so we want there to be a /n. Let me think for a second. Okay, so I've been thinking about this for a little bit, and I'm gonna kind of change how we do this. So instead of creating a new string, okay, so the problem is that after each item we add a double line break or a empty line. But the problem is when we combine it, we're combining it with empty lines. So when we have this string item, which is obviously placed at the second index, which is placed right here, we're joining it with a /n/n. So when we combine, so string is held right here right now. When we combine string, which ends in a /n/n, when we combine it with description, it's gonna have a combination of 4 /n's. That's why we're having that big line break there. I'm gonna change this. Instead of creating a string for it, which has /n's in it, I'm gonna simply loop over the children, and I'm going to append it to the split description list. So I'm gonna say split_description dot, not append, sorry, I meant insert, and we're gonna insert the item with no /n's because it's gonna be split by /n's anyway. So 4 items of the children, it's just f string. The only thing is that I'm thinking of, when we loop through this, we're taking the first item first, we're inserting at 2. So we don't need this anymore. We're inserting it at the index of 2 because obviously that's always going to be after the type, but we're starting with the first one. So the first one will go here, then it'll get bumped down, and you'll actually have reverse order. So in order to get it, we want to loop through it in reverse order. So when it's returned, it's in the correct order. Hopefully this makes sense, but we're just going to say reversed of self.children. And so now we're going to start with the last one, and by the time we get to the top, it'll be in the correct order. Hopefully this makes sense, and hopefully this works, because if this doesn't work, this will be a little embarrassing. But yeah, let's try this. So reload tickets. Let's try this. Send tickets. Let's go snap application this time. And now we can enter information. Sanimo MC. We could say YouTube. Hopefully this works. And there you go. You can see it works. So it takes the hey at Sanimo, you create a new ticket type, and then the requirements, it kind of like pushed to the bottom, and then it placed right here in the middle what we entered into the Modal, which is awesome. And it also changed the permissions that I can show right here. Now we can, oh, sorry, we haven't gotten to that yet. That is right. That's the last thing we need to do. Okay, let's go ahead and handle that real quick. The very last thing we need to do. So in order to allow someone to send messages, super easy. First, we're going to grab the permissions for that user. So we're going to say permissions is equal to interaction.channel.permissions for, and then the user. So we want to do interaction.user. And then we want to edit an attribute of permissions. So we're going to say permissions.send_message. You can see all the permissions you can edit right there. There's a bunch, obviously. Send messages is equal to true. Now this is great. We're just, right now, we're only editing this permissions that we've returned. We don't actually assign it back to the channel. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to say blinking await interaction.set or interaction.channel.set permissions. And then we're going to set it for, look at the parameters, we're going to set it for the target and then the overwrites. So we're going to say target is equal to interaction.user, and then the overwrite is equal to permissions because we've now edited it with send messages true. Okay, now this should be completely everything. Go back to main UI, run our bot. Let's do a final test of all 3 different categories. Let's do send tickets, sorry. Let me go ahead and clear up these tickets real quick though, just so it's not cluttered. Okay, so now we can see it. Let's open up a general support, and we should see a general support open up here. We got that message, and you can see a general support. Staff team will be with you shortly. This is the general support message. Enter information. We have our 3 questions. Sanimo issue today. Submit. Perfect. You can see it's placed right here. The button is gone. And now if we check permissions, Sanimo can not send messages. That did not work. Let's see. Type error, invalid override type provided. Give me 1 second. Oh, why is that? Why is that? Oh, sorry, it's not permissions for. We're changing the overwrites for. Whoopsies. Just change that to overwrites for, and you should be good. We're setting the we're setting the permissions, but we need to specify overwrites. So that's why I put. Okay, just a little bit of mistakes. We're good. We can go ahead and reload tickets, and we can just dismiss this ticket and test with other ones. So if I do send tickets, see if it works for the other ones. Bug support, same thing. We should get that specific message for bugs. Don't abuse the bug. Enter information. Sanimo, this is the bug. Submit. Boom, worked perfectly. Edit channel. Boom, now you can see we can view channel and send messages. And let's test it with the last one. Staff application. We get our ticket, mentions it, the requirements are here, and then also I didn't mention the staff application at the top. You know, we're putting our ticket type at the top, which is awesome. Sanimo, YouTube, submit. Boom, it worked also. And the last check, did it change the permissions? Yes, it did. Send messages and view channel. Awesome. So it looks like all three are working, and this is very scalable to add more channels. It's very, very easy. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Sorry for being a longer video. Like I said, this was a little bit more advanced. So if you stuck to the end, that's awesome. Thank you guys. If this is something that does very good and you guys do like this, and I do see that this is something that you guys want to keep seeing more of, a ticket system, this is kind of something that I specialize in. I do have a very extensive ticket system as like my main Discord bot. So if you guys like to see more videos on this, just let me know and I can make pretty much like a full series out of this. I would be more than happy to do that. That's kind of what I specialize in, like I said. So just let me know if this is something that you guys would like to see, and I can carry on the series to help you guys make the best ticket system for your Discord. Yeah, with that being said, thank you guys for watching. If you guys have any questions, drop them down below in the comments or join my Discord server. You can see this is a nice little support server that has a code help channel. If you need help with the code, I'd be more than happy to help you guys here. But yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Peace out.